Welcome dear students. Welcome dear students. We are on the CEC Gurukul lecture and we are in the series of electronic circuit. In this series we are discussing the various electronic component. Today we will discuss one of the component which is also important in the circuit of electronics. So that important component is the electric cell. Yes, electric cell. What is this electric cell? An electric cell is an electrical power supply that generates the electrical energy from the chemical reaction, and it is simply a device that used to maintain the electric current. So when we pass the current in a circuit, then we use the electric cell. So the electric cell was invented by the Alexandro Volta in 1799. So each cell consists of two ends called the terminal. You have seen in the batteries, then you have seen in your laboratories that the cell having the two end terminals. So the metal cap of the each side of the cell is the positive terminal, while the metal disc on the other side is the negative terminal of the cell. It is used to generate the electricity and generate the chemical reaction with the help of electricity. So an electric cell is a single unit device in which the chemical energy is converted into the electrical energy. So electric cell is a device which converts the chemical energy into the electrical energy. So if we talk about the definition of the electric cell, an electric cell is a device that is used to convert the chemical energy to the electrical energy, as this cell comprises of the two electrodes and one electrolyte. It means when we talk about the electric cell, then it is comprises of the two electrodes and one electrolyte, and these electrodes are made of material that participating in the chemical reaction with the electrolyte. All the assembly are attached with the two electrodes and with the one electrolyte, and these all are in the same system, and it consists of some chemical. As we are saying that the reaction, there is a chemical reaction, so for this we use the chemical. So it consists of some chemical called the electrolytes and has the two terminals refers to as an electrodes. As we say that we are having a two terminal that represent the electrode. So in a cell, chemical reaction, oxidation reductions happen between the electrodes and the electrolyte frees more electrons in one electrode than it does in the another. So in the in the electric cell, chemical reaction will takes place, and that chemical reaction is the oxidation reaction, and that happen between the electrodes and the electrolyte. So the negative terminal called the anode, which gains the more electrons, while the positive terminal, that is called the cathode, which loses the electron. So the terminals are two, negative and positive. One gain the electron, another lose the electrons. So cathode will lose the electrons and the anode which will gain the electrons. So this exchange of electrons create a potential difference between the electrodes, and that allows electricity to flow whenever connected to the outer circuit. Again I repeat that here we are having a two terminals, one is negative, one is positive, means we are having a two electrode, one is anode, another is the cathode. Anode just gains the electrons and cathode loses the electrons. So there is a exchange of electrons that creates the potential difference between the electrons because of the transfer of the electrons, and that allows electricity to flow whenever connected to the outer circuit. In this manner we can get the electricity. Now you can see on the screen that this is the symbol of the electric cell. So it has two terminals which are made of the metal. One terminal is positive and another terminal is negative. When the two terminals are connected to the electrical device, electric current flows through it. You can see there are two lines, one is short and one is large. So the large line is a positive and another is a negative. So an electrochemical cell consists of electrodes, that must be the cathode and the anode, and through which the electricity will flow. The non-spontaneous reaction is controlled by the external source of current. So, the decomposition of the electrolyte solution by passing the current which result in the liberation of corresponding gas is known as the electrolysis. There is electrolysis process which is a non-spontaneous reaction which controlled by the external source of the current. There is a decomposition of the electrolyte solution by passing the current which result in the liberation of the corresponding gases in the system. So, therefore, an electric cell is a device that used to generate the electricity and make the chemical reaction by applying the electricity. Now, there are some key technologies. You can see on the screen that there are some key technology of the electric cell that we will discuss one by one. First is the production of the electricity cell. Whenever we are preparing the electric cell, then there are some points which you have to keep in mind. The first is the production of the electric cell. So, electric cell produces a small amount of electricity from the chemical stored inside it. It means it is producing a small amount of electricity because of the chemical reaction takes place when the chemical in the electric cell are used up. So, the electric cell stop producing the electricity. Means all the electricity are produced because of the chemical reaction, chemicals present in the cell. So, another is a terminal. Now, we are saying that all the electric cells have the two terminal. One is positive and another is a negative terminal. So, in the dry cell used in our homes, you can see in the remotes and in the radios, we use the dry cells and they are having the two terminals, and the central carbon rod is positive terminal and the zinc contained is the negative terminal. Another is a chemical reaction which is also the part of that electric cell. So, in the electric cell a chemical reaction takes place between the anode and the cathode. As we see that there is a reaction between the cathode and anode, that is why there is a flow of electron, and that because of that flow of electron electricity produced, means electrical energy is produced. So, the chemical inside the electric cell are chosen to provide the high voltage potential and for the flow of electrons. Another is the voltage. The specific voltage of an electric cell is decided by its design and chemical composition. Common household batteries having the 1.5 volt, and that is represented by AA and AAA batteries, and which is also having the 9 volt. Battery is created by connecting the multiple electric cells together. Whenever we just prepare battery, then we connect various electric cells together. You can see that in the lecture on the battery, that how the battery is created by using the electric cell. So, more electrical energy can be produced by the batteries, which is used in the variety of gadgets and electric cars. Another electric cell components, if we talk about the electric cell components, we discussed that electric cell components are, in the electric cell we have three parts. Number one is anode, second is the cathode, and third is the electrolyte. So, anode is the negative electrode. Cathode is a positive electrode and the electrolyte is the chemical that we are using. So, the electrodes are of two metal plates in a cell. One electrode is the cathode, which is the positive terminal of the cell, and another is the anode, which is the negative terminal of the cell. Electrolyte basically is a liquid or a gel that contains a ion. So, it allows the flow of electric charge between the electrode. There is a one separator. That separator is a barrier that prevents the two electrodes from touching and shorting out the cell. So, there is a separator which is the barrier which just prevent the two electrodes for the touching or the shorting of the cell. Another is the, you can see on the screen that this is the cell. Now, you see upper side there is a metal cap and the lower side there is also a metal disc. So, the upper cap, that is a positive terminal and the lower cap is the negative terminal, and you see in between that there is a electrolyte, that is a chemical paste that is inside the cell. So, this is the electric cell, dry cell picture. So, that from here you can easily understand that it is having a two terminal, positive and negative, and in between that there is a electrolyte that is used to transfer the electrons from one plate to the another plate. The positive and negative side, that is cathode and the anode, cathode is the positive and negative is the anode, are attached to an electrical circuit, and these two electrodes are dipped into the electrolyte, which can either be a liquid or the dry powder. When this cell is connected to the external circuit, chemical reactions happens within the electrolyte. Due to these reactions, positive ions and the electrons are generated near the negative electrode. So, the electrons flow towards the positive electrode from the external circuit, while the positive ions move into the electrolyte. So, electrons recombine with the positive ion present in the electrolyte at the positive electrode. So, the circuit is complete and our device start working. So, the electrons flow towards the positive electrodes from the external circuit, while the positive ions move into the electrolyte. So, the electron recombines with the positive ion present in the electrolyte at the positive electrode, thus the circuit is complete and our device will work. Now, you can see again that is the internal part of the circuit. Again we are having a metal plate, there is a metal cap, metal terminal, and in between that there is a carbon and there is an electrolyte and there is a different part of the electric cell. Now, what are the advantages of electric cell? They are used as a power appliances for the various instruments, because the chemical reaction inside the cell generate the chemical re-energy which is converted into the electrical energy through the potential difference across the battery. So, electric cell are low maintenance power source since they do not require the leakage check or the regular supervision. It is very easy device to use. So, this makes them easy to use as a compared to the other power sources which is made of the dry powder or the liquid electrolyte. So, like generators which requires a lot of maintenance. So, cell is a easy device to use. So, electric cell are small in size and are lightweight, which makes them portable and easy to carry around here. So, this makes them useful and a common choice of the power source of appliances like smartwatch, like mobile phone, like remotes. So, we use different type of cells as according to its application. So, electric cell does not have any major hazard associated with it. So they can sometimes leak charge under the extreme temperature condition, but apart from that they cannot cause hazardous incidents like other power sources like generators, which can be potential threat. So they have a strong retention power also, meaning that the electric cells can hold charge for a long period of the time without causing any leakage. So this is useful for devices that are not used on the daily basis and might need to store charge for a prolonged time. So that can be store the charge so that it can be used for a longer time. So another is the working of the electric cell. Now how the electric cell work? As we are seeing here that there is a chemical reaction in the electric cell, and that chemical reaction is called the oxidation reduction reaction. So the reaction takes place between the cathode and the anode via electrolyte. So due to the oxidation reaction, an electrode gets negative charge, which is called the anode, and due to the reduction reaction, the other electrode, the cathode, get the positively charged. So when the two different reactive metals are dipped into the same electrolyte solution, there will be a movement of electrons between them. So one metal will lose the electrons while the other metal will gain the electrons. So the potential gradient is created between the two metal electrodes due to the difference in the concentration of the electrons around them. So this potential difference act as a source of voltage for any electrical devices. Then the electrons flow through the external circuit, which results in the electrical energy. So you can see here in the diagram, it is very easy to understand. There here we are having the two electrodes, electrode cathode, one is the anode, and in between that they are dipped into the electrolyte, and you see there is a load. Whenever there is a flow of electron, you can see there is a electricity generated because of the reaction. So here we discuss about the various type of the electric cell. So electric cell are just basically characterized on the basis of the rechargeable and non-rechargeable type, that are the primary and the secondary cell. But these electric cell are of many type, like galvanic cell, like electrolyte cell, like primary cell, secondary cell, reserve cell and fuel cell. We will discuss one by one. First we take the galvanic cell. Galvanic voltaic cell. Galvanic and voltaic are the same, that has been named after the Luigi Galvani, and that is the electrochemical cell that generates the electrical energy from the spontaneous redox reaction. There are two type of reactions, one is the non-spontaneous reaction and another is the spontaneous reaction. So in this type of galvanic cell, there is a spontaneous redox reaction. So galvanic cell with no cation flows. So a wire connects the two different metals, zinc and copper, if we take example. So each metal is in a separate solution. We keep one in the another solution and another in the another solution. So solution, often the aqueous sulfate or nitrate. It means when we are just preparing a galvanic cell, we use the zinc and copper metal plates and dip into the separate solution of the aqueous sulfate or the nitrate. Forms of the metal, like however more generally metal salts and the water which conduct current. So a salt bridge or a porous membrane connects the two solutions, keeping electric neutrality and the avoidance of the charge accumulation. So, the matter's difference in the oxidation reaction potential drive the reaction until the equilibrium. You can see here there is a two terminal, they are separated in the different solution. There is a porous disc and you can see there is a zinc sulphate, and from the zinc sulphate, from the negative terminal to the positive terminal, there is a flow of electrons from the zinc anode to the copper cathode. So, in this manner this electrode works. What are the key features of this type of cell is galvanic cell is it is having a spontaneous reaction, it generates the electric current, current flows through a wire and the ion flow through a salt bridge. Here you are seeing that there is a wire that connects the two terminals and it is through the salt bridge, and another it is having the anode, that is a negative, and cathode, which is the positive. This galvanic cell consists of two half cells. Each half cell consists of the electrode and the electrolyte. Both half cells may use the same or different electrolyte. So, further in the further lecture we will discuss the half cell, galvanic half cell, and the other type of cell, and we will discuss about its application, advantages and its uses. Thank you very much.